When Hurricane Maria hit the island of Puerto Rico in 2017, the entire world watched in horror as people went without electricity, without water, and wondered if the island would ever recover. But as usual, the media just moved on to the next story, and we really haven't heard much about what's happening there since that time. If you've been wondering, is Puerto Rico still a good place to visit or even to potentially move to one day? My guests, Troy Davis and Tennay Davis-Porter, will tell you all about it in this next installment of the Black Expat series here on the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. So if you've been thinking about visiting the beautiful island of Puerto Rico, this episode is for you. Así que vamos a empezar. Let's get started.
Bienvenidos! Welcome to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast, the show for Spanish learners that love music, travel, and culture. Close your grammar textbooks, shut down the language apps, and open your ears to how Spanish is spoken in the real world. Let us show you how to go from beginner to bilingual. Here is your host, certified language coach, Tamara Marie.
Hola y bienvenidos al episodio 124. Welcome to episode 124 of the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. This episode is the next installment of our Black Expat series with a focus on Puerto Rico. I sit down with Tennay Davis-Porter and her husband Troy Porter, and they talk about how the couple successfully managed to move to Puerto Rico to establish a life there. They talk about everything from the cost of living to where to get the best food to the best neighborhoods that you can live in without having to spend a whole lot of money. I know that you will enjoy our conversation because Puerto Rico is also one of my favorite places, so I get to talk a little bit about my experience visiting the island after Hurricane Maria as well. But before we get started, I have to take a moment to give a special shout out to Annie, Tennay, and Josh. They are members of the Spanish con Salsa Fluency Club, and I had to take a moment to say, Feliz cumpleaños! Happy birthday! This is your birthday month, so I hope you are celebrating for the entire month of May. And I want to give a shout out to one of our listeners who left us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts. This review is from Nutty ML, and they say, Me encanta Learn Spanish con Salsa. I found Learn Spanish con Salsa at the right time. It combined my love of Spanish music, dancing, and my big desire to learn the Spanish language. Tamara includes relevant and engaging topics with various speakers. I love how each topic provides a spotlight into the Spanish culture and various techniques to keep the learning embers burning. Gracias, muchísimas gracias, Nari ML, for your review. And don't forget, you can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts by clicking on the link in our show notes for this episode, learnspanishconsalsa.com/124. And make sure you listen until the end of this episode, and I'll tell you more about how you can get your hands on your very own copy of our Puerto Rican Spanish book, which is our bilingual guide to Spanish as it's spoken on the island. All right, with that, let's get to my conversation with Troy and Tennay. Hola, Troy y Tennay. Welcome to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast.
Hola!
Hola, thanks for having us.
So I'm super excited to have you guys on the show today because we get to talk about one of my favorite places on the planet, which is the island of Puerto Rico. So we're going to delve into that because I've been doing the series on Black expats just for people who want to know about the process of moving abroad. If you've thought about it before, if you're not sure if it's right for you, bringing you conversations with people who actually have already taken that leap and begun to do some of that traveling and moving overseas. So Troy and Tennay are going to share some of that with us today. And first, could you all just start out, just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and sort of what made you think about, starting your journey traveling outside of the U.S.?
Well, thanks for having us so much. First of all, we're actually so flattered. Me and Troy, we actually met in Greece. We were both in the military. We're military veterans. And, once I was stationed overseas, I loved to travel. And little by little, we would just travel, but mostly with the military. So it's a little bit different. Once we were able once we can afford, to start really traveling, we really just wanted to go all over the place. And we just started going from place to place. And there was a moment when I was asking my job at the time for like time off, and they were kind of giving me a hard time. And I'm like, man, but I just want to travel more. And I just didn't like being told no, that I couldn't go somewhere because the world is so beautiful. And I just told Troy, like, well, what if we just decide to just go for it? Like, that's always been my dream. And his dream was just really to retire, but I'm gonna let you just him tell you more about his dream. And we just decided to just go for it. Like, you get one life, you get one life. So I'm like, let's just go for it.
And I'm my background from Texas. Like she said, we're retired veterans. And when I left home at 18 and I got to travel the world with the military, I think that's how it got in traveling for me, because it was like at 18 years old, leaving home, going to Washington State and seeing a whole new world, people, the environment, everything. And I did that for 20 years in the military, and I just it's just a habit now. Tennay be like, I'll wake up, check my email, and she didn't book the trip already. And I'm like, okay, we're going to Colombia. All right. So, and that's just how it's been since we've been together, And we wanted to get away from the northern atmosphere, to get away from cold weather. And originally, Tennay wanted to go to Panama. And because if she'd have got her way, we would be living in Panama right now. But I was like, why not go to Puerto Rico? We usually go there 2-3 times a year anyway. We both love it. We know a lot about it. And we came to visit, and we've been here ever since.
And I used to live in Puerto Rico. I was stationed here with the military. I lived here for almost 3 years. Fell in love with it here, but I just wanted to kind of get a little more out of my comfort zone, because Puerto Rico is a little bit Americanized. Obviously, it's American territory. But so I really just wanted to take myself outside the box a little bit more. And I thought Panama would be great for that. But then when COVID happened, we couldn't get the visa that we were looking for. And we actually already had another trip booked to Puerto Rico, because we come to Puerto Rico all the time. Or now we're here, but we used to come here all the time. And so we're down here. And then you're like, man, you know what? Let's just stay. Let's just stay. And so it really just kind of happened like that. Like, I had already sold everything, sold my house. We sold everything in plans that we were just going to pick up and move to Panama or somewhere. We kind of sold everything before we really had a plan. It was just happening. I didn't want it to be so structured. I'm not an Excel spreadsheet type of person. I'm more of a just kind of wing it kind of person. And so, I was laughing like, well, hey, what are we going to do with this? Like, I still have a car in Texas that I'm like, what am I going to, but we just kind of just let it happen. And I'm sure for some people that planning is great. I wouldn't tell people to not plan, but what I'm saying is I don't want to stress myself out.